Well, it's a beautiful morning here in Tignes, but I'm actually cutting my ski trip short to head north to Saint Quentin to indulge in another one of my sporting passions, cycling. Now, this race that I'm going to, they call it the Paris Roubaix Challenge. It's a classic race over cobblestones, 32 kilometers of cobbles. And having a look at these snow conditions, I've absolutely no idea why I'm doing it. Sucker for punishment. A 7-hour drive north from the Alps, and luckily the weather is equally as good. It's a whole weekend of racing. The public race is on the Saturday, and then we'll get to watch the pros tackle the course on the Sunday. Well, it's Friday morning, and I'm going to go out on a reconnaissance of the course, and I've hooked up with someone quite special. It's Team Sky, and they've got their bus here, and they're actually going to go out on a ride at the track as well. And they've done this journalist thing where journalists can tag along for the first bit of their ride. But apparently when they hit the first section of pavé, which is the French word for cobbles, they're just going to put the hammer down and do it at race pace. So I don't reckon I'll be hanging with them for too long. A quick photo shoot before we got started, and to be honest, the pros looked much more relaxed than us. My biggest worry was touching a wheel and knocking one of them off. I could just see the headlines: BBC journalist injures Bradley Wiggins. But my fears were unfounded. Before I knew it, I was confident enough to start playing around with my mini cameras.
Riding with Team Sky! Oh yeah! Right on the cobbles. It's amazing how the speed just drops off. Pretty dusty, but very, very lucky that it's dry.
Experienced all-rounder and domestique Canadian Michael Barry showed me how it was done on the roughest section of the course, the Forêt de Arenberg. When I had a go, it felt like my arms were going to come off. How I was going to keep this up in tomorrow's challenge, I had no idea. But tonight, I was going to be dreaming of pavé. As with all these public races, this sportif starts very, very early. It's like about 7:30 in the morning in Saint Quentin, and I'm actually riding with these guys from Pinarello, and the bike that they've lent me to ride on is it's actually specially designed for the Paris Roubaix. It's got a different setup at the back here, so it's got a slightly longer wheelbase to help you bounce over the cobbles a bit better. That's why the rear triangle's bent away like this, and the forks go off at that angle. So I'm actually riding with Andrea Pinarello, and he looks a bit tasty, so I'm going to try and hang with him as long as I can, and yeah, we'll see how we do.
So that's them started the race, but there's 3,000 people to get going, so it takes a little time before you actually go over the start line. Right, here we go. Paris Roubaix Challenge. Now they're setting everyone off in waves of about 500 at a time, just to string people out on the road. Otherwise everyone would hit that first section of cobblestones and it'd be a big log jam.
There was a slight headwind for the first road section of the ride, which made things easy if you could stay in the slipstream of the group. Once we hit the pavé though, it was every man for himself. The power that you need to put in is about double that of the tarmac. You need to keep your hands loose as possible on the handlebars. It's too much to ride on the drops, and resting on the brake levers is definitely not a good idea. Most people ride on the crown of the road, but you can find some smoother lines right in the gutter, or even on the grass verge.
So we're about 50 kilometers to the finish. We've got another 6 more sections of pavé to go, and the bike's holding up, and I'm just about holding up. And I've got to get going because Andrea wants to get going again, and it's just absolutely flat out on the pavé.
Feeling rather weary, with aching hands, shoulders and legs, I limped across the finish line.
Wow. Well, that's quite a challenge. It feels like you've sat on a jackhammer all day trying to work a chainsaw. It's amazing how tough it is. And we only did, I think, 145 kilometers and 32 kilometers of pavé. Tomorrow
the pros are going to ride 258 kilometers with 53 kilometers of pave. That's why they call it the Hell of the North. Wow.